That sounded amazing. Oomph. Alrighty, thank you for attending tonight's meeting. Next on our agenda is public comment. Public participation is encouraged in the Laurel School District. All meetings of the board will be open to the public except provided by law. Scheduled meetings of the board may be recorded. Audience members may address the board during public comment for non-agenda interests or during the discussion of the relevant printed agenda item. Your attendance is welcomed. If you plan to speak to the board, please look over the information on the agenda, then complete the public comment card located in the back of the room, provided to myself or Superintendent Torres. To address the school board members, we ask you to come up to the podium, identify yourself, and briefly state your concern. Public participation is a right that carries certain responsibilities, such as informing oneself in advance of the issues being discussed, voluntarily being as brief and germane as possible, not unduly repeating remarks others or you have already made, and showing respect at all times for the rights and opinions of others, whether citizens, board members, school district employees, or students. Thank you for your involvement in Laurel Public Schools. Do we have any public comment for non-agenda interests? I'm taking that as a no, so we're going to move forward. Moving through our agenda, next is our correspondence. We, of course, always appreciate our community members and their willing to give to our school district. The Laurel United Methodist Church gave and provided to our backpack program, so thank you very much. Next is a thank you that is long overdue to European Porta Potties, who have been providing the porta potties around our school districts for events, for sports. And so to them, I want to definitely say thank you and apologies for not getting this out sooner, since they have been donating for several years at this point. So thank you very much to them as well. Moving through, we do have a couple of presentations, new staff introductions. You're only supposed to read exactly what is on the paper.
Turn this. We have some introductions for our 2024-25 new staff. We always invite them to the board meeting so the boards can see your beautiful faces and we get to know you a little bit. So first up, if she would please stand, we have Sage Weimer. Where's Sage? Sage right there. Meet Sage Weimer, our brand new Kinderboost teacher. Proud Laurel alumnus, Sage knows firsthand that surviving LPS is no small feat. She's proof that read it just how she wrote it. She's proof that what doesn't break you just makes you work even harder. In college, she discovered her love for teaching, and despite her tragic run-ins with early morning classes and cafeteria mystery meat, she graduated with honors. Why? Because she wanted to be the best teacher she could be. Get ready, Kinderboosters. Miss Weimer is here to teach, inspire, and probably ask you how to work the smart board. All right, thank you. Next up, where's Hannah Kopp? She here tonight? Hannah's right there. Let's have her stand up. So we're excited to welcome Hannah Kopp, our new high school English teacher and a proud Laurel grad as well, back to her roots. Fun fact, Hannah's first job was at the drive-in movie theater, where she was, that's pretty cool, where she was surrounded by Hollywood blockbusters, but it wasn't until she cracked open The Wizard of Oz that she found her true love, that's reading. Who knew that following the Yellow Brick Road would lead straight to our English department? Get ready for some, they did laugh at that. I didn't think they would, that's good. Get ready for some literary adventures with a dash of movie magic. Welcome, Hannah. We're thrilled to have you here. All right, Peggy, I take it back. Some of these are pretty funny. Meet Caitlin Gannon, but you can call her Kate. Oh, I'm sorry. Stand up right there. Sorry. Caitlin Gannon, but you can call her Kate. She's our new special education teacher at the middle school. When she's not busy inspiring young minds, Kate is probably outside going somewhere adventurous. hiking, camping, kayaking, you name it, she's done it or is planning to. Her ultimate dream, to fly fish the legendary Salmon Run in Alaska, where she hopes to catch fish so big they'll make her tall tales actually true. We're not sure if she's teaching or preparing for an extreme sport reality show, but either way, we're thrilled to have her on the team. Thank you and welcome. Nicole Wiggs here. Oh, right next to her. All right, stand up, Nicole. We're beyond lucky to have Nicole Wiggs join us as our new third grade teacher. She's a catch we wouldn't trade it for the world. Nicole comes to us from another district, and we're thrilled she's now part of our team. When she's not busy shaping young minds, you can find her chasing after her two lovable golden retrievers who think they run the household. And when winter rolls around, she's trading lesson plans for ski plans. You'll catch her zooming down the slopes faster than her students can say snow day. Welcome aboard, Nicole. Oh, this is the one I was... Oh, they threw some Spanish thing in here. I'm going to struggle. Okay, this is Diana Coy. Would you please stand? Thank you. We are thrilled to welcome Diana Coy as our new high school Spanish teacher. Diana joins us from another district, bringing a wealth of experience along with her busy household of 3 kids, 1 grandbaby, and a husband who probably speaks fluent dad jokes. Yeah. When she's not teaching Spanish, Diana loves her Latin dancing, running, traveling, and spending time outdoors with her family. She's ready to bring her passion for Spanish and maybe a few dance moves to the classroom. Just don't ask her to salsa on a Monday morning. And then I'm supposed to read this. Okay. Oh, man. Estamos muy contentos de tener a Diana en nuestro equipo. Am I close? Yeah, I want you to read for it.
Estamos muy contentos de tener a Diana en nuestro equipo. We are very happy to have Diana on our team.
Yeah. What did I say? Isn't that what I said? Isn't that what I said? Yeah. Same thing. You guys just gotta make a big deal about it. All right. Dr. Melissa Byington, where's she at? All right, let's stand up. We're excited to welcome Dr. Melissa Byington as our new high school principal. Freshly arrived from Nebraska, Melissa hails from a small town in South Dakota, so she knows a thing or two about wide open spaces. With 2 sons, one wrangling cattle north of Billings and the other hitting the books at the University of Nebraska, Melissa is no stranger to the art of juggling. She believes that educators are servant leaders who must wear many hats, so don't be surprised if you catch her wearing a little hat or two while steering our school in the right direction. That's right. Thanks, Melissa. All right. Jillian Stieg. I saw her walk in. Yes, right back there. All right. We're excited to introduce Jillian Stieg as our new speech language pathologist. Growing up in Billings, Jillian is a true football fanatic with 2 high school boys who share her passion for the game. Family trips for them often meant heading to a college and a professional football games. Her ultimate goal, to attend a game at every NFL stadium in America. Talk about dedication. At home, she's got 2 pets and a rotating cast of foster pets who keep her on her toes. With Jillian's energy and enthusiasm, we know she'll be a touchdown in our school. All right, Catherine Burkle. Where's Catherine at? You here today? All right, we'll get it to her, but she's going to be our new middle school counselor. So everyone, make sure you, when you see her, make sure you wish her well too. Catherine Burkle. She goes by Katie Burkle. All right, Natalie Rosebrock. I saw her walk in. Yes, right there. All right. We are thrilled to welcome Miss Natalie Rosebrock as our new middle school special education teacher. Natalie recently moved to Laurel from Big Timber, but she's practically a park ranger at heart, having spent many summer seasons working in Yellowstone National Park. If you ever need advice on dodging bison or finding the best geyser, she's your go-to. We're excited to have her adventurous spirit and expertise in our school. Just don't be surprised if she slips a few park ranger tips into her lessons. Thank you. Welcome, Natalie. All right. Is Alex here? Alvarado? Oh, he's in the back. Okay. Say hello to Alex Alvarado, our new custodian and the man who can make any floor shine brighter than a spaceship in a 1950s sci-fi flick. With years of custodial experience under his belt, Alex knows the ins and outs of keeping things spotless. He's practically a superhero of clean. When he's not saving us from dust bunnies, you'll find him diving into his comic book collection or binge watching old sci-fi movies, wondering why our classrooms don't have more flying saucers. Welcome, Alex, and may the floors be with you. All right. All right. Is Shelley Tanskin in here? Oh, right in front. Thank you, Shelley. Introducing Shelley Tanskinen, our new high school special education teacher who's been with the district long enough to know where all the best coffee spots are. Shelley might seem quiet at first, but once you get her talking about art, education, or the mysteries of the universe, you'll quickly realize she's got plenty to say. When she's not busy shaping young minds, she's at home drawing and painting masterpieces that make us all wonder why she didn't become the next Picasso. Get ready for a teacher who's as talented with a paintbrush as she is in the classroom. Welcome, Shelley. All right, Miss Kayla Field. Oh, I saw her come in, yep. All right, everyone, meet Kayla Field, one of our newest 5th grade teachers who's destined for drama, but only the good kind. Named after a soap opera star from the days of our lives, Kayla is ready to bring all the excitement and plot twists to her classroom, minus the love triangles and amnesia, I would hope, yeah. When she's not molding young minds, you can find her indulging in her one true love, cookie dough ice cream. Just don't be surprised if you see her sneaking a scoop during recess. Welcome, Kayla, to the role of a lifetime. I think I saw Nathan Williams come in. Yep, right over here. All right, introducing Nathan Williams, never Nate, goes by Nathan, our new high school English teacher who's here to bring both literature and the limelight to our students. With an extensive theater background, Nathan will also be stepping into the role of high school musical director. So get ready for some Broadway-level productions, or at least some very enthusiastic singing. He's fluent in Spanish, which means he can critique your essay and direct a musical number in Espanol. And don't be alarmed by the unique color patch in his hair. It's not a bad hair dye job, just a birthmark with a flair for the dramatic, just like Nathan himself. Mrs. Stephanie Torgerson. You here? She didn't make it? You had one job. Stephanie comes to us from Elysian, and she'll be teaching 8th grade math. Is that correct? So make sure when you see Stephanie, the definite better half of that relationship. All right. That's right, they are. I worked with her in another world in another school, and she was absolutely wonderful. Okay, Reagan Smith. On the back, stand up. There you go. Introducing Reagan Smith, our new 5th grade teacher, who's about to bring her skills as a registered behavioral technician to the wild world of middle school. Yeah, if she can handle behavior, she can definitely handle 5th graders, right? Yeah. Reagan's got 2 cats and a dog at home, so she's already an expert in managing chaos and unexpected messes. Perfect training for a 5th grade classroom. When she's not wrangling pets or students, you'll find her in the garden trying to keep her plants alive while secretly wondering why they don't come with instructions. Welcome, Reagan, to the jungle. Oops, we mean the middle school. Destiny Birdwells. Destiny, oh, in the back. Okay, hide with a hat on. All right, Destiny. Meet Destiny Birdwell, our new middle school custodian. She's ready to clean up after our messes and maybe even teach us a thing or two about ceramics while she's at it. With a love for cooking, Destiny is the only person we know who can mop a floor and whip up a gourmet meal at the same time. Though we promise she doesn't mix up the cleaning supplies with the spices. When she's not making our school sparkle, you'll find her spinning pottery or cooking up something delicious. Just don't be surprised if she tries to turn a mop bucket into a work of art. Welcome, Destiny, to the middle school madness. All right. Where's Carrie Smith? That absolutely beautiful little baby. I know. Say hello to Carrie Smith, our new middle school special education teacher, who swapped the hustle and bustle of Chicago for the charm of Laurel, Montana. She's a road trip warrior, having conquered 38 of the lower 48 states. She's basically the Lewis and Clark of special ed. Carrie's planning to hit the remaining states next summer, except Hawaii, because even her adventurous spirit draws a line at trying to drive across the Pacific. When she's not on the road, she's either creating masterpieces with her artistic talents or planning her next big adventure. Buckle up, middle schools. Carrie's here to take us on a journey. And Heather Harrison. Okay, thank you. Nice to see you, Heather. All right, meet Heather Harrison, our newest special needs aide at South School. We just graduated with her associate's degree in early childhood development. Talk about hot off the press. Heather's already a pro at multitasking. Thanks to her role as the ultimate softball mom, traveling to every game with her daughter. She's basically a road trip expert with a minor in snack packing. When she's not cheering from the bleachers, she will be at South School ready to knock it out of the park with our students. Welcome, Heather. Just don't be surprised if you catch her practicing her cheer routine between classes. All right, did I forget anybody? Is that everyone? Got everybody? Got the whole 9 yards. All right, thank you. And those were pretty funny. When I read it, I was in a bad mood.
Well, from the board, welcome. As you heard, great things are happening at Laurel Public Schools, and you're just a part of it. So welcome. Super excited to get to know you. I know a couple of faces, so I'd love to introduce you to myself and the board on one-to-one when we can. So thanks again. Alrighty. Would you like to let them know?
Yeah, you don't have to feel obligated to stay for the rest of the
I mean, it
board
might be a short one. It might,
No, not you.
might.
So you're not hurting anyone's feelings if you get up and go. I always kind of wonder, it's like, can I get up and go? Is someone going to be mad?
You did very well. Very well.
Well,
We'll let them clear out before I start, just so I'm not trying to yell at the same time. Pretty exciting. Okay. Next on our presentation, we have our owner's rep. So Shane, come on up. Fill us in of what's happening.
Trustees, we'll start off with being included in your packet. We felt it was important that you guys had a chance to review that we had gone through all the safety and opening West back up. Pretty big deal. Want to make sure that everybody understands that we've got our certificate of occupancy from the building department. All of our life safety systems have been tested. Emergency egress has been planned out and outlined, which you'll see in that packet. Bethany and Wayne they'll coordinate their drills based on that, because there is some different egresses based on obviously our additions that are going up, but we've planned that out very carefully and diligently. All of our life safety wayfinding signage that'll also be up in the building, so there'll be clear directions for anybody that's in the building that maybe doesn't know all the plans currently. At least they'll be able to be directed out. So with that, everything is safe and is ready to teach in the building. With that, I'm sure everybody that was there 3 weeks ago is a big relief. On Wednesday, you guys are going to see, and I believe you'll be impressed with what has been done. Renovations are going to continue throughout the year scheduled. We're trying to obviously keep doing as much work as we can, not interfering with the learning environment coordinating that very closely with Matt, Wayne, and Bethany, making sure that, any work that we're doing does not interrupt school, but we do want to keep doing work. That's just going to lessen the biggest lift that we have to do next summer, because next summer we still have a lot of work that we're going to have to do inside of that building. The re-roof, the existing building's almost complete. We're down to actually doing fascia and fascia metal, and a little bit of flashing, but virtually the entire building has been re-roofed, other than the one main roof that we weren't going to redo. It's that metal portion on the 77 edition, which is in good enough shape that we don't have to replace that. Addition continues to move forward on schedule. The building is nearly dried in. We actually were roofing last week. We hopefully will get our glass within the next 3 to 4 weeks. If not, we'll just close the windows up with poly, and we'll actually be able to be working inside, with gets us out of a lot of the winter conditions that we were trying to avoid. Sidewalks and pavement for the lots have been completed. Hopefully we've got a chance to get by it and see. It was very, very well done. I'm very happy with the way that came out. I'm never content, but I do have to give this team a plug. Everybody has worked with the utmost professionalism and diligence to get this amount of work done in 11 weeks. We have a great team that put together, and they actually, this was a large amount of work, and they got it done. The owners, Bethany, Matt, and Wayne, were very instrumental in that as well, working with us all along the way to make sure that we could get done what we needed. So with that, I'll get off of West, unless anybody has any questions on West.
Just to understand, we are going to try to get all dried in before winter, and if we can't, then we're just
We
going to.
will be. I'm saying we will be.
Will be.
Yeah, they're virtually there. Like I said, as soon as the roof was complete, when I say complete, it's dried in. We don't have the fascia, obviously, but that doesn't have anything to do with drying the building in. And then the windows, as fast as we can get the windows in, that'll fully dry us in. But if not, we'll cover it up with Visqueen and be able to work inside the building, that's a big deal. So that's what we were shooting for the whole time. Any questions on West? Right. And you guys, I believe, are gonna do a walk on Wednesday? Great. Mogan, construction continues to move well. We're on schedule. Building walls are up. We're actually starting on the roof shortly. I'm happy with the progress. We've done very well there. Again, very good team. And that's across the board, architects, contractors, owner. We've been able to really keep the project on task and done very well. And I believe we're going to be closed in there prior to winter as well, which is a big deal from our perspective. On the owner's side, that lowers our winter condition costs. So that's a big deal. Street infrastructure, all the infrastructure is actually in place. We patched the road back, and this is the first patch of asphalt where we actually had to dig through the road. Obviously, we patched that one level back, so it's, passable. We're not going to do the overlay till next year. We want everything, all the big heavy equipment, any tie-ins. There's a potential for the development across the street that wants to cut into the road and tie in. We don't want to do that nice overlay and then have somebody cut into it. So we're going to wait until next year to do the overlay as kind of like one of the last things that we do when we back out of the site.
They have to help pay for some of that then too, if they're trying to tie in?
No, it's far enough down that the water and sewer where we tied in was almost in the same spot. So they wouldn't have paid, because we actually went up, picked up at Maryland. And there's a potential, we can ask, because I know that Market Guard had actually brought that up, but we don't know if that's going to happen. They're just in the preliminary stages right now. What I didn't want us to do is patch the road and then have them come in and cut it. So we're just going to hold off. And we're not going to overlay the road in case that happens in the meantime. We're not cutting into a new overlay that we did, which we've coordinated that with the city. We are looking at closing in that ditch in Maryland. I think that's something that we need to do as we've been working on that site. We've got a lot of water coming in underneath of the roadbed from that ditch. That's something that we've had to fight with along the way. I think this is important for two reasons. One, we would have loved to have done the ditch to begin with because the kids, you know, obviously walking up down that, having an open ditch full of water, we just assumed we didn't have that. We didn't really think we had it in the budget at the very beginning, but I think our budgets are aligning pretty well now, especially because we came in a little bit under. I think this is something, you know, we're going to make that a priority to get that done, also to limit the water coming onto our site. So I think that's something that we're trying to get accomplished. Any questions on Mogan?
Ish, I mean, from Maryland all the way
All the way to the
to the housing.
exit out, all the way to the exit. Four-way, all the way down to where it's.
And we actually already had, if you remember, where we brought that pathway across, because we designed that pathway to walk across from that point all the way down to the entrance to the back of the middle school. That was already in pipe. I mean, we were putting that in because we were putting that new walkway across. So it's really from that point, which is, I don't know, 100 feet from the entrance up. That was already in the design. So from there up to Maryland is what we're looking to encase. The rest of that all the way
So
up.
what happens with that water? Because that south part of the middle school that kind of dips by that one house,
We're not changing the ditch whatsoever, other than piping it. That's
just piping.
We're just piping it to close it in. Because what we found is a lot of infiltration was coming from that ditch through the roadbed and leaching onto our site, which is increasing the water that we have to deal with on our site. We prefer that not to be happening. And so as soon as they shut the ditch off is when we would try to get in there, encase that pipe, encase it in pipe, and close it in. So then we don't have to deal with it anymore. And that'll keep the water from obviously infiltrating across the site, and plus it'll close the ditch. So we don't have to worry about, not that there's a big risk because it's been there for 100 years anyway. So I don't know how many kids got lost in it, but at least at this point it'll be enclosed. Okay, south, well underway with the design. And they've coordinated with Matt administration. We've started to plan temporary placement for the administration while construction starts. There's been obviously some options, but with Graph going to be coming online, that kind of got off of, we couldn't use Graph. But I know that Matt has worked on potentially going to the middle school for the summer, because we'll be starting construction June, you know, as soon as the kids are out at South, and we'll be demoing Graph in June. So there will be no spots there, and hopefully we'll build that. It's looking to me, I'm thinking that's probably about a 4-month schedule to do what we have to do in that 4 to 5 months. So administration will have to figure out for about 4 or 5 months where they could plant, do their work, and then move in. Graph. We've met with A&E. We've got preliminary design. We did add, I know that there was a request from a previous board meeting from you guys. We do want to include the concessions, alternates for restrooms, and then parking lot lighting. So we are going to incorporate that into the plans to see if we can fit that into the budget as well. I know that was a request. So they are working to that end. We do have to do, obviously, the demolition of the building. If anything starts there, we have to do an abatement. So we are getting that lined up to abate what we have to get out of the asbestos out of the building before we can demo it. That'll be in process. We'll make sure that that's in line with the June, as soon as the kids are out. So we'll be doing the abatement and then starting the demolition of the school as this design finalizes. And I'll come up with a recommendation. We haven't decided how to take that out, since that's such a civil heavy package. That might just be bid out directly to civil. Is kind of what we're thinking at this point. They're going to be carrying 90% of the workload. So that way we'll just bid it out. Global budget. I'm always very conservative and very cautious, as you well know. Our FF&E packages look like they're coming in line. We have not run into any major hurdles coming out of the ground. We're through our structural steel. We're getting our envelopes done. Our contingencies have been holding very well. We haven't had any cost overruns that have hurt us in any way yet. So a lot of our risk has been mitigated. It's given me confidence that I believe we are going to get all of Graph and probably a large piece of South, as long as everything keeps holding. You know, obviously, I'm very cautious when I put that out, but we are, from a budget standpoint, we're doing very well so far today.
In the graph, do we have potential fencing around?
Yeah, there was fencing that was, it was around the fields. Yeah, not the
Not the
parking
whole
lot,
thing,
the
just the
parking lot.
fields.
And we also did save the trees. I think I mentioned that last. I want to make sure we're very clear. We told them that they have to design around the existing trees that are on the boulevards.
So since South and Graph were kind of, at the time that we were moving forward with things, were kind of iffy, and so we didn't really have a good plan at that point, like through the building committee and stuff, what that was really going to look like, because it was like, if we can kind of a thing. So when we get to the point where we kind of know what that's going to look like, could we bring that information here as far as like plans and stuff? Just to kind
Absolutely.
of show everyone what that's going to look like, or bring the building committee together to look at it again, something so that we can really look at that stuff, even if it's just informational at that point. But I feel like those were like, we were hoping we were going to get there, so we didn't really dive into that or see a lot of that. It'd be nice to just present that either here, building committee, and come back here, however that looks. But if we could do that.
Absolutely. And actually, we're required. Schematics, they will be bringing schematics back to you. And then they will also bring the full construction docs back to you. Both of those steps.
Chris?
What would the timing on that be, Shane, do you think?
I know when we want to be bidding by February. January, February is when we want bids to be going out. That's the best time in the market for us. I would assume, and I really shouldn't talk for A&E unless they were here, but I'm going to assume that they're going to be ready with an SD package probably within a month. Hopefully, I will make sure I don't like putting words in their mouth, but that would be my expectation. We'd have at least the early schematic within a month or so, and then guys' approval on that, then they can finalize, working through their DDs and CDs, bring back the final, and probably in that December range, I would say, and then us to get ready to take it out to bid.
Don't think too crazy on South. We're trying to do the kind of the basics to get by. We're not even touching 3 of the rooms. So we are trying to get everything functional, making it as simple as we can, doing what we think we need to do to make it more open to the public and such, but trying to keep it simple. So don't expect Taj Mahal or anything crazy like that. We're keeping South pretty basic.
Yeah, been very austere from what I've seen, and very to the needs.
And then I just wanted to just point out a few things just so I don't forget, and then to kind of share with the full board. I was talking to Matt. I have a community partner that has some changeover in their own business, and they might potentially have office desks for the admin site. So when I have a chance, bring in Matt to go look at them, and they're like matching. They have top shelves and everything like that. So I might, if we do decide, and they're going to be donated to the school district. So we're going to need storage.
But one thing we did not account for, just trying to keep the budgets as light as possible, was that you guys would pull over whatever you had. So we didn't put FF&E for new. Furniture.
South was going to be basically reusing
Right.
stuff. So
Reuse.
That's why when they
Yeah, that's
offered
great.
this, I just wanted to at least, if they can give it to us and it's nice equipment, and we can at least, our only problem is we'd have to store it someplace. So if
We'll
it's
figure
on
something
site or it's here for the time being, so there's that option. And, I'd like to ask the board how they felt if we honored both Dale Aarons and Dan Fettig with a tree at one or both of our sites. maybe put one at one site, one at the other site, just because they were both trustees that made a huge party to this district and pushed some things forward that I think led the district to strive for where we're at. So just wanted to throw what you guys were thinking on that, and just so landscape and everything's starting to do their stuff, I wanted to tell you early enough.
We can fit a couple of trees easily into our budget, absolutely.
Information, questions? Okay, any comments from the public audience? All righty, thank you very much, Shane. Appreciate your time. Moving through our consent agenda. Do I have a motion?
Motion to approve the consent agenda.
Approved by Chris, second by Chris with a K. Comments, questions? Yes, Donnie?
There are several items that I would like to request we either pull off for separate consideration or consider my comments at this point before we vote. Nothing major, just pretty much mostly technical. I just want to mention that under the personnel hiring, under item 4, the documentation that came with it was a little bit confusing. Kind of had to make sure you're paying attention to what you're reading, because it kind of talks about the basketball coach, but then switched to a softball coach, but then back to a girls basketball coach.
It is assistant basketball coach for that individual. It was Carl Dinkel. He is the girls' assistant high school basketball coaches for the position.
So right underneath the recommendation, when it says due to a resignation, the district is needing to hire it said middle school softball coach instead of girls assistant high school basketball coach. So that was the clarity right there.
So thank you for that clarification. I do have a question on the substitute list. I just want to confirm whether it is a total subs for any position in the district, or is it a list of teacher subs?
Total subs.
Kind
All
of scary.
encompassing.
It's dwindling.
Well, it dwindled. It was a bigger list last year, but many of those people simply did never sub. They didn't sub all year, so they were removed. Jobs, but so we're just updating the list.
I thought that's what it was. I just wanted to confirm, because you can't really tell from on the list if it's for all positions or just teachers. And then under the student attendance agreements, item number 1, the Laurel student attending Elysian schools, I believe we are using an old document for these approvals that doesn't reflect the new tuition laws. And so I just wanted to point that out, and that there's not an option for waiving tuition or charging the parents. We're into the phase where tuition must be paid by the home districts.
We'll make sure that's updated. Yeah, it won't. We won't be going against the law.
Thank you.
I do have a motion on the table. Does everybody feel that that's, Jenny, go ahead. Yeah, go ahead.
What's the Terracon claims for the Terracon consultants? What was that about for $22,000?
Terracon does all our testing for concrete, action. They come in before and after each one of the pours that we have. They do testing on it to make sure that it meets the pressures that we're allowed.
Third-party testers.
They're third-party testing.
All of them.
All the schools?
For all-
Okay.
Yes.
Third party. You don't trust the guy who poured it to tell you if it's a good pour or not. So we bring in third party.
Questions from board on the consent agenda? Renee?
So do you think there's any sort of issue with us approving these Elysian school students with the language that's currently in there? Or do we need to note that this needs to be updated so that, or does it need to come back to us? Donnie, I guess, what is your thought on that? We just give
I
clarification.
just think there should be a note in the minutes that that the tuition won't be waived or parents charged. They'll follow the new House Bill to Senate Bill 203, House Bill to whatever, the new
Well,
tuition laws.
More clerical. Does everybody feel that's the same clerical? Needs to be updated, double checked.
I just didn't want anybody to think somebody was getting a deal or a shaft put to them because Laurel wasn't following the rules if they were just reading what was in the packet.
And the new documents, both districts have to sign off and there's a whole document.
It's basically the same old document it's always been. It's just more teeth to the process now.
Okay, so I do have a motion on the table by Chris, seconded by Chris K. If there's any other comments, questions from the board? Comments, questions from public audience? Not seeing any. Again, approval by Chris, seconded by Chris K. All in favor, say aye. Aye. All opposed, say nay. Motion carries. Moving through our agenda onto our action items. The approval of our out-of-district student. Do I have a motion?
I make a motion to approve the out-of-district students listed in the recommendation.
Second.
On an approval, seconded by Jenny. Do I have comments, questions from the board? Not seeing any comments, questions from public audience? Alrighty. Motion approved by Renee on approval of out-of-district students, seconded by Jenny. All in favor, say aye. Aye. All opposed, say nay. Motion carries. Before I go and make a request for a motion on the baseball co-op, wanted to kind of give the board a little bit of background, and Mr. Torks can also kind of discuss on this.
Mr. Torgerson will also give you a little feedback. Go ahead and tell us kind of what brought this on, Mr. Torgerson.
What brought this on, Red Lodge reached out to ask if there might be the possibility of Red Lodge co-oping with Laurel in spring baseball. Currently, there's a few baseball players that play in the Laurel Dodgers Association. So they wanted to continue that basically Laurel baseball with those kids that are outside of the school district, but still attending their schools. So Red Lodge reached out to me, their superintendent and AD reached out, asked if we'd want to bring it to the board just to see where we're at. With a co-op, both school boards have to approve it for the co-op to happen to MHSA. The reason that it's happening so quick is the deadline for a co-op application, especially for the spring, is September 1st.
They called us about a week and a half ago. And
Yeah, so that's why it's a quick turnaround. Once I got the call, I went straight to Matt, say, can we talk about this, look into it? Red Lodge had a school board meeting on the 19th, and they did approve it. So now it's coming to the Laurel School District for approval.
A little bit of background, I did talk to their superintendent. He estimates, he said we could have more than 5, but he kind of estimated 5 is what he thought. He said he knows 3 for sure. Again, I don't have accurate numbers. I'm just going by what he said. He said there's other kids that have expressed interest, but he didn't know how that was going to work, if they would really be serious about it. But he thought 4 or 5 for sure. He does know that we've invested and already raised a lot of money, and through the baseball organization, they've raised all that money and donated it to the school. We have a private donator as well. They're aware of that, and they know that they would have to help with those startup costs as well. In addition to, they'd be more than happy to pay costs too associated with running the program, portion of the coaching staff, some sort of a fee that we've had kids from other districts like Elder Grove, when they ran middle school track, we charged them by the student to participate, and they had to help pay for the coach. So they wrote us a check at the end of the year. So if this was approved, we would have some sort of an agreement like that in place where we would, administration looks at total costs and then divides it up proportionally. Do we really have any idea how many students we might have out? To me, that was my first question, just so you guys know, is if we have 25 kids out, co-oping doesn't necessarily benefit us in any way, shape, or form. But I have no clue what our general interest is.
We had signups last year. We had 19 sign up, but I anticipate 25 or more. I mean, just with interest and totally being approved. Yep, it's a go. Let's do this. I anticipate our numbers 25 or more.
That would be enough to run a varsity and a JV program.
Renee?
I think knowing that information, I'm not in favor of us co-oping, just because I think that we approved this program for the students in our district. And I mean, if those Red Lodge kids want to come be a Laurel Locomotive, they're welcome to, with the new rules, come here and go to school if they'd like to and be part of that program. But I would hate for our students to either get cut or sit the bench because we co-opt with another school when we didn't really need to. It would be a different story if we only thought we were going to have 15 kids out and we'd have one huge varsity team and we wouldn't be able to field a JV, and then that would be a good opportunity for our kids to add some other players. But I feel like at this point, especially with the fundraising that's been done, it's been sold as Laurel Baseball. I think that we're setting ourselves up for even a PR nightmare by allowing that when we have enough kids to run the program on our own. Furthermore, I expressed this when it came out, is I have concerns about those kids from Red Lodge traveling to Laurel every day in March for practices and how they're going to get here. That's a concern of mine for their own safety. That isn't the best road to be traveling every single day to get here to practice, and I don't think it's in their best interest either. So I'm a no on this.
Anybody else want to speak to that?
Excuse me. And just in light of what Andrew's saying too, I agree with Renee, because if this was like a soccer program where we maybe are potentially short, then a co-op makes sense. Like, so you can field the full teams, 2 full teams or whatever. But if we think that our Laurel kids are going to be able to take care of fielding those 2 teams fully, then it makes sense to get, just like, I think this is a similar debate to having middle school kids come up, right? That's what kind of a co-op within our district. And we put some pretty stringent rules about that, feeling we don't want high school kids cut. I wouldn't want to see one of our Laurel kids cut to accommodate an out-of-district student to play on our baseball team. So I, with Renee, I'm also not in favor of it.
Sure.
I saw you.
Yeah. Well, I was just thinking, how would they get here on, if practice is at 4 and there's, I don't know what time Red Lodge school ends, how in the world would they get here in time for practice?
That'd be one of those details that they would have to work out, whether they're letting their kids leave a little bit early or.
Not on us.
That's up to them. We wouldn't have well, we can't practice till 5.
Dark at 6.
So,
too,
yeah,
in March.
we simply wouldn't do that. We would have to practice what's available, and the co-op and school would have to, make sure they got here. However they decide to do that, it's up to them.
My other thought was, what if we only have 15 come March and we missed out on this?
Right? Then we wouldn't be able to co-op till the following year. So that is a risk that we take if the board chooses.
15, I guess, is one team, so that's fine. Chris?
So a follow-up to that then, we're gonna be creative. And can this be could we agree to this co-op if our student census is below a number that the board determines? So it wouldn't be, so in the spirit of cooperation, we could say that because we have the September 1st deadline, but then the preface to that is if our census is below 22 players, out, then we would allow up to the 25 if there's a gap. If so, maybe we could allow 3 co-opted students or what, you know what I'm saying?
Yeah, Chris, I think it's all or nothing.
That-
Andrew, would that be accurate to say?
Pretty sure.
I think it's all or
All
nothing.
the-
I don't think it's a co-op.
We
can
can't
be-
condition it.
No, because I think we go ahead and apply for the co-op, we get the paperwork in with Red Lodge, then it is a co-op.
It's just a free-for-all
And
trial.
then my opinion is once you co-opt, and those kids are on our team, just like the 8th graders move up, then they're on our team. They're all locomotives or whatever. They're all locomotives, and where they fall in that team, if they're better than somebody, then they should play over them. There shouldn't be junior members or anything like that. Once you're on our team, you're on our team. So I guess that's my feeling. So I would say we either commit or don't commit. I don't think we should hold something over kids from Red Lodge. Well, they might get a play. We'll tell you in March. Either let's let them play or no. It's really the choice.
Donnie?
I guess my feelings are that I hate rushing anything through last minute, and I feel like that's what we're doing here. If we were approving an interlocal agreement with the specifics spelled out, I'd feel a lot better about it than hurry up, say yes, work out the deal later, just to get it pushed through. Just makes me a little nervous.
Jenny?
So they say you don't have to field the JV. I mean, you play 9 in baseball. You're looking, if you had 15, you'd probably be pretty solid in having decent numbers to find multiple pitchers and things like that. So I'd say 15 is probably a good number
For a single team.
for a single team at the high
And they
school.
can play both directions, just like a JV. I don't know the rules, how it
A lot of
works.
different rules on pitch counts and how you can swing and play. You know, if you play a JV game first and then go up to varsity game or vice versa. There's all those type of rules with MHSA. Off the top of my head, I can't remember them.
I'm kind of in agreement with Donnie. We haven't even done this 1 year. We should probably just try a year of baseball with just Laurel before we consider anything else, and then we can start thinking about the details.
Agreement from Chris and Donnie and Jenny. Here's the thing is, I think we've already set a precedence. We had Joliet come to us for soccer, and we were considering that, but knew that it, might not be best in our best interest of our students. So I kind of think that we've already started that precedence, my opinion. Every board can be different. But this conversation of baseball in Laurel has been going on for 3-4 years. And we now have a community who has stepped up to donate. Those parents have, gone out with their student athletes to help. And then we had an anonymous donor because they believed in the program so much to help us launch it. And I just don't want to take away from our own student athletes. Not to say that, yep, the best players should be on the field, but how do we know what we have? We have some good baseball players coming up the ranks. And I just wouldn't want them to not have that ability when our community has truly donated for our community. Not to say that, Red Lodge and we haven't done Dodgers, and I know Little League has also partnered with them, and they're still a community next to us, but I too feel the same way. I'd really like to see what our program looks like before we start embedding other things in it. So, okay, kind of with that, yeah, go ahead.
How many schools can co-op with another school? Only one? Or
You
can
can
mo-
get multiple schools in, but you have to add the total enrollment for their schools.
So we'd be basically AA if Columbus, Joliet, and Red Lodge wanted to come in and play.
Yeah, if all they did, then we'd end up AA if they have all those schools.
See some of those bigger Red Lodge, say Red Lodge and Columbus, if they co-opt, they might be at the Class A level. And right now with baseball, it's still pretty young. MHSA doesn't know what they're going to do with the classification levels. They anticipate AA breaking off and then the rest being together. But yeah, you have to combine the total enrollment.
Good, Chris?
Where's Columbus on baseball?
They're Class B right now.
They do have a program.
They do have a program. I don't know if they're working on a co-op with the smaller school, anything like that.
Is that an option for Red Lodge to go to Columbus?
Distance might be the issue, but distance probably a little bit of an issue coming here. But yeah, it is an option.
Their enrollment, I would assume, Red Lodge combined with Columbus, their enrollment would put them at the Class A level.
Or a little, it'd be close. It'd be close.
Well, I was gonna, let me have
Baseball.
because we did discussion with the board. So do I have a motion?
Don't we need to allow for public comment?
When I have a motion, then I can allow for public comment, but I have to have a motion on the table too. Because then I ask the board for more comment, and then I ask the public if they have comment.
I make a motion.
I have it as an,
Could die for lack of a motion. But then we probably should let the public speak.
and public, do we have any comments from public audience? So sir, if you would state your name and where you're from, so we can put it in our minutes, that would be wonderful.
My name is Brad Caton. I'm from Red Lodge. My connection to the Laurel community is for the last few years, I've been the treasurer for the Laurel Dodgers. So, and also a board member volunteer for Beartooth Little League. From a Laurel Dodgers perspective, sophomores and juniors returning that played American Legion baseball, kind of the level you'd want your high school players to be at, there are only 3 returning players. So if the survey was, say, 19 and you hope for 25, the reality is there's only 3 upperclassmen that have played at the American Legion level with just Laurel specifically. We had 4 Columbus players, we had a Park City player, we have Red Lodge players, but in the Laurel community specifically, that number is only 3 upperclassmen. So Columbus, Park City have already co-opted. That's kind of the other half of the Laurel Dodgers. They have joined forces for this next school year. And every high school baseball program east of Bozeman, last year there were only 3, every program is in a co-op. You have Livingston Big Timber together, you have Sydney Fairview together, and you have Columbus Park City, and Laurel being the newest team to join high school baseball. The historical, the rich, successful tradition that Laurel has had with baseball has been with a Red Lodge component to it, going back decades. That's what kind of makes it unique, like a soccer example with Joliet. The Red Lodge kids have over the last decades, helped with fundraising for the lights at the baseball field that the baseball team will use. They've fundraised for the scoreboard, or helped with the fundraising to install the scoreboard, helped with the fundraising for the Dodgers bus, the field maintenance, the new sod, raising money for bullpens right now as we speak, raising money for batting cages, and that's with your Red Lodge contingent. So those are the kind of points of clarification. I looked at other mileage, like Livingston to Big Timber, 35 miles, Knoxon, Thompson Falls, 36 miles, Dillon, Twin Bridges, 28 miles. So these are the other high school co-ops that are really common, even right out of the gate with baseball. And the thing that makes this even more kind of compelling is, like I said, that tradition already exists. The Red Lodge and Laurel players have been playing together for a long time and building the facility together at Thompson Park. Hundreds of combined hours, tens of thousands of dollars put into that park as a combined baseball entity. And for us in Red Lodge, at some point, if it doesn't work, if you try it and it doesn't work, that would be something we totally understand, because there's a movement, but it's a deeper movement to try to get a baseball field built in Carbon County at some point, because we've had, in the last 3 years, our Little League program is at 102, 107, and 111. And so after middle school, there's no place to send those kids. The absolute best get sent here to be Dodgers, but we don't have a pipeline and a field in Carbon County. Could be a long-term aspirational thing if Laurel decides they don't want to co-op, and we just try to do something for the kids in Carbon County. But it's a kind of unique scenario where there's been that history of partnership together and a deep history of success. So that's why I wanted to just make, for a point of clarification from as the treasurer of the Laurel Dodgers, we only have 3 Laurel kids on the Laurel Dodgers playing at that level in the last year's sophomore and juniors, and we had no freshmen. So
So Brad, how many Red Lodge kids would you anticipate would come down?
it would be flexible. Like if Laurel sent the signal that, hey, we're at 19, which is, if you're at like 19, you're in a no man's land. You have too many for varsity and not enough for the depth of a JV. The Dodgers, for example, carry 16, and that's kind of the high end for one team. You probably, that 14, 15 is probably your sweet spot for a baseball team. So we would be, if we received the signal that, hey, we probably need 3 or 4, we would be realistic with our kids down there. We would have the freshmen probably still try to play senior little league, because that's going to be tough to do now that there's high school baseball. A lot of that's going to go away. But we would still try to form something for our younger kids. If you said, hey, we're at 14 or just, and we're in that range where we don't have enough for a JV, or 17 and we need some more for a JV, then we could really cast the net bigger and try to bring our max capacity would probably be 7 to 8 realistically. But if the demand signal was sent that, hey, we really only need 3 or 4, we would honor that, like working together with you and say, hey, we'll be realistic with the kids that should play at the high school level and the ones that should sign up for senior little league.
Well, one of the things, sorry to interrupt you, but if we have a co-op, we wouldn't want to exclude kids like that. I mean, if 7 want to be here and we agree to a co-op, 7 should come up and try out. I think that would be only appropriate. I don't think it would be right for us to look at some of our kids and say, hey, I'm really not sure. We wouldn't do that in basketball. You wouldn't do it in your basketball or football program. So I wouldn't want you to do it for baseball. If 7 wanted to come up and try out, then 7 should.
Party to Dodgers is that when there's only 3 of those seniors graduate, I know that coach only allows for 3 to be, those spots to be slotted with either new incoming. So Laurel hasn't had an opportunity to move forward either with some of those players, because there's only so many spots on the Dodgers. And some kids know that they either won't have the opportunity, so they don't even try out. So I understand that there's only three of our Laurel boys with that upperclassman on, but there's been a reason for that, which is why the community of Laurel has wanted a high school baseball team to give those other student athletes the ability to keep continuing when they know they couldn't, either didn't want to try out because of other political things, or they knew cost, or they just knew that they wouldn't even be considered. So I understand where Dodgers is coming from, and there has been the tradition, there has been the history, and Laurel and the Little League programs have partnered with Red Lodge a few times. I think that's why I struggle, is that's why Laurel wanted to give the Laurel student athletes an ability to do something beyond either the juniors or the seniors program. So that's how I feel about that.
What time does Red Lodge let out of school? Okay, and the plan for them to transport, what was the school's plan to transport them? to Laurel?
The school would take care of
They
the
would have
transport.
to bring them on a bus. They wouldn't let them drive their cars down here.
At our school board meeting, when I observed that meeting, they said that the school would provide transportation.
Are there further comments from you, sir?
Thanks for the consideration.
Appreciate your time. Thank you very much for coming down. So I will call out for one more time, since we did have public comment. Do I have a motion? Okay, I'm hearing no motion, so there's no action. So Chris?
I would just say, I do agree with the some of the fellow trustees that maybe a year of our own I wouldn't rule out a co-op in the future if a year of our own proves that we have space in the end. If you know what I'm saying? I think what our participation as a district will be, and it, like to your comment, Brittany, especially considering the amount of effort that the community put in specifically to Laurel High School baseball this year, I do think it's appropriate to have a year of our own to see if we can have this program grow the way the community hopes it does. And if not, then a co-op would definitely be a good way to help supplement even our own programs. So.
Okay. Making sure we're giving time. Okay, again, no action has been made, so we're moving forward on that. Moving through our informational items. If you have any comments, questions, I'll look, just let me know. If you have, anybody else wants to comment due to any of that, please let me know as well. Bond expenses as of 8/21 of 2024. Going down to superintendent's report, resignation. My heart's a little sad for Mrs. G.
Is this resignation a position we'll be replacing?
Leona Goldsberry's position.
Please.
We did advertise for him.
Moving through the agenda, discussion items, data collection on CTE. I know that at the, remind me, Charla, was it at the beginning of last year, right? We had both high school principals kind of gave us an update on CTE, and then the board had asked for some October, I can't remember.
I think it was October of last year where we did a presentation
Right.
for the board.
And then the board at that time had asked, kind of, they wanted something updated more towards the end of the year or into the summer. Charla had asked me kind of what was the board needing a little bit of. I kind of tried to remember what we talked about, but so really she kind of wants to know the direction of what items does that look like. And now that we have Dr. Bylington on board with us as well, kind of what we're looking for from this team on the CTE program.
Because so in the presentation that we did last fall, and we can send that out because we do have new people at the table, so we can send that out again so you can see what we did present on last fall. We kind of ended with, we knew some next steps were that we needed to start working on cleaning up our course handbooks and our course coding, just get a better feel for what we understood CTE programming to be and look like at Laurel. And the data collection was also one of those pieces that we needed to start working on. Some of the data items that were in the initial questions that came from the board that kind of prompted us to start working on this a little bit more specifically are not data items that we collect and that we really questioned when we were sitting down last year looking at them, like, why would we want that? Like, does that data point help drive our programming now? So before we jump into the weeds and get back into it and start digging for things or putting things together or cleaning things up, we just wanted to have a conversation, get a little better feel for like what are you wanting and looking for? Because we don't want to go down a path of lots and lots of data collection if what you all are wanting to hear about are like programs and what are we doing to build out the next pathway and vice versa also. So anything else? Did I kind of get it? Okay.
I have had conversations with the high school principals. For example, even today, we talked about some things that are happening in Billings. And they've been in to meet with those individuals in Billings about their dual credit programs. They're working with the City College, the technical side, and then also with MSUB on more of the traditional academic side. You guys want to just give a 30-second version of what we talked about today or what you guys went in and talked to them about?
We're really kind of just gleaning some structure for what kinds of programs that they're running. And given the huge disparity between their size and approach and where we're at, they have a lot of programs running, which could give us some ideas. And what we would need to do is really look at what are the needs for our student population. What's the survey say that as to where our students are headed at to be career ready and or college ready? What do those pathways look like? We feel like we have some starts to that, and I know that there was work done last year cleaning up some of that and starting to identify some pathways. And the state is coming out with new opportunities, so that's something that we wanted to look into. How is Billings leading in that avenue, and what pathways have they started that we could, instead of starting from ground zero, what ideas can we steal, for lack of a better way to put it, that would fit within our student demographic and within our community to best serve our students. So there's a lot of, they have some really flexible programming that is a hybrid thing that puts students in work environments and or helps them attain some certifications, some college credentials, and some of them are on-site in their home schools and in their home site high schools, and some of them are on job sites or on college campuses. We have a variety of programs, and it's really kind of hard to summarize in 30 seconds.
Right, we had a half hour scheduled for the meeting and it went an hour and 15 minutes. And we didn't even get all the information. So there's a lot going on in Billings that we like to see and bring over our direction. The issue you run into is it's getting that disparity in number size. Are we talking about 5 students who would want to do a running start type program, which is the early college school? How many students would we want to do like an opportunity type program where they do maybe a hybrid school schedule or completely online or something like that? So those are things we're exploring. We're also exploring leads with Build Montana and trying to get our kids out into possible job sites and that kind of thing. Swinging a hammer or learning how to run heavy machinery or something like that. So there are a lot of different directions to go. The vehicle to go those directions would be a charter type school and a charter application. What that looks like is still kind of up in the air, and we need to determine where the interest lies within our district and actually outside as well, and what we could support.
Chris, did you have a comment on that, or they answer it?
They answered a little bit of it. The other part I was wondering about was, well, mostly I was wondering what caught your eye specifically, program-wise, and then also, have you begun to explore funding mechanisms for that? What would you? I guess the other thing that I'd like to see is the formulation of like what that vision is, and like what is our 2029 goal or 2030 goal, right? Where do we want to be, and how does that look? And then, because there's some infrastructure things building wise that need to take place in order for that to happen. So the more we can, I'm looking for a narrative of what we want CDE to be that we can take out and market to our community to rally support behind capital improvements. And then also we need to have a firm understanding of how we can perpetuate this without it, going out for levy to support it. So those are the things that I would like to see in a
Talking more plan, but you're asking for so okay.
Right. Well, and I think that helps give us that direction too. So if you're looking for like that vision, that plan, I think we would probably, I can't speak for, I'm just kind of just going off and winging it here. But I mean, we would start with your guys' strategic plan and we would work backwards from there. What do we have the infrastructure right now to do? What does that look like? And then how do we build off of that? Kind of another piece that is part of our state accreditation, probably mentioned it last spring, I don't remember if I did or not, but the graduate profile, building that graduate profile, that's part of our district goals this year. That is part of our state accreditation. Last year, all we had to have when we submitted our plan last year was, what is our plan? And our plan was that we did some training with our administration team and our leadership team, and that we were really going to jump in and tackle that this year, because that does involve surveys out to our community business partners. What are they looking like? What are they looking for in workers coming into their industries? And so there's a lot of behind the scenes work that we need to do this year to build out that graduate program, which I think does tie into what program options are we running? What is our vision, long-term goal? And then of course the funding pieces for all of that.
Rest of the board feel. Jenny?
I guess much like we did before building the buildings, we got that demographic study of our students. We kind of need to do the same thing with the CTE program. We need to understand what our students are interested in, where they're going, what opportunities are around us, because not every kid's going to go to college. They might go out and become a drafter for A&E, or you know what I mean? So we need to understand what the interest is. We're not going to invest a whole bunch of money in like dive school in the ocean, you know, for Billings, right? So we need to do like some demographic information, data collection on just what we have, what's available, and where do we go from there. Like we should start from the bottom up, right?
And we did, as we were working on this last year, there are interest inventories at the high school, and I'm still trying to understand like who administers those, what happens with the data, who's the keeper of that data, how many years back of data do we have, can we look at that long term? So we have talked about that piece already, that we want to get a handle on that right at the get-go with some of our CTE teachers around that particular interest inventory that we know is happening in the school. We just need to kind of pin it down a little better.
I have a question then, because I know that, you know, once they get to high school, of course, we're hoping that they have some narrow, but it feels like more of those top tier classes or anything are for juniors and for seniors, when I really do believe it needs to come all the way down to freshmen. And I'll be honest with you, I think it needs to go into 7th and 8th grade. So I would like to see kind of a survey on what our 7th and 8th graders' passions are, because those are our upcomers, and those would be the programming that we would probably be starting to meet those needs by the time we got everything somewhat into place or started. Or so that would be something that I would like to know, is that I know that our freshmen and our sophomore need to have our core classes, but I also believe they need to have some of their passions pushed as well, because I mean, if they're like, oh my gosh, I want to do this class for art, and granted, I have an art degree, but I'm just saying, if they'd rather do woodworking, then we push them more into that's what they really enjoy, instead of just having to sit in a class that maybe they don't enjoy.
And one piece that did change last year, and I'm not super familiar with Perkins, I'm hoping that my team here can help me out with that, but Perkins did go all the way down to funding down to 5th grade. I know a little bit, but a little bit could maybe get us an interest inventory at the middle school. It can get us some exploration pieces. So definitely that's a piece that we need to bridge between this team and then our high school administration team, is what do they have in place? What do they need to help start building that bridge with us? They might have pieces in place that we talked about, because we have not had this conversation at the middle school level. So that's on the list, to start that bridge from middle school to high school, figure out what that funding piece does look like, and then how could we best utilize that at the middle school.
Chris, go ahead.
I definitely would like to see programs built around market and opportunity and not as much on student interest. Our students are very limited in what they know and what's out there. And I really would like to see something that builds relationships between our school and the community, our school and employers, our school and our unions, in order to, I think, broaden the horizons of not only our district, but also our students. An interest inventory to me allows you to understand what they enjoy or what they feel they might be good at, but they're limited in their experience and their knowledge and what they've been exposed to. So I would like us, just as we would develop any other curriculum, is look to see what the market is out there, Just as we would send kids to college, we're going to prepare them for college. We're not going to prepare them to their interests. We're going to prepare them for what opportunities are out there and what they need to be prepared for. And so I think I'd like to see the same approach taken on CTE, and really look at dual credit, really look at certificates, anything that's going to get them prepared to go into the workforce when they leave school, or to go to a 2-year and have that much more knowledge, that much more experience, and that much more connectedness, I think, with those who can influence some of their career decisions, career choices. So
I would have to say that's really a good way to access building that program. Having recently been through a lot of this research in a high school that was moving towards career academies, one of the things that was priority was looking at how do we keep our graduates in our area? How do we keep our graduates in our community? And looking around at what are the high wage, high demand, high skilled jobs that can build our community and keep our kids here in the area. So we start looking at what economic development data do we have available? What's rising in our area, and how do we combine that with our student interest? Because they don't necessarily know. They know the occupations of the people that they've seen around them. They know about teachers, they know about nurses and doctors, they know about what their parents and what their parents' friends are. They need more ideas sometimes to find out what they love, because they maybe don't know how their interest. Just another piece that we can build out, because there's data out there. We just have to pull it in and coordinate it with ours.
I don't know what the Laurel Chamber of Commerce has, but I know Billings has that information because one of their last couple of years has been on that same thing. So Jennifer Reiser would be the contact at the Billings Chamber for that data. And I know Billings has it. So, I mean, our area is Laurel, but I mean, we do kind of bleed into Billings as well because of the workforce itself, right? And some of it crosses over, but for that data, I think that would be, but I agree with you, Chris. I think you said it very elegantly. I think that's what I believe that we're all looking for as well for our students. So anything, Renee?
I think to kind of piggyback off of what Chris said, part of this is working towards these opportunities for our kids, and we know that doing that in part is going to require a bond at some point for the high school, that we can expand those areas for our kids. So I think being intentional about, just like we did with the building, part of it for the elementaries is involving our community in that process through a survey that they can take. And I think we're always caught off guard by the resources that we have within the parents and within the community that we live in. And so giving them the opportunity to give us that feedback can connect a lot of dots for us a lot of times on those trade opportunities that are out there that they can help us, that are easily connected to our school, that we don't have to work so hard to find the person that can get in touch with the person, because in this community, people are very well connected and they know where to go if you know the right person to ask. So I think we need to make sure that we're involving the community in this process, even if it's just an opportunity to give survey feedback, and the majority of it may or may not be helpful to us, but there may be a few things that are, and it gets them involved in the process from the start. And that's what we found to be successful in the last.
Saying that, Renee, I think I'd really like that idea. You involved the stakeholders. And in this case, I think the stakeholders that we would try to target are business owners, tradespeople, not just in Billings, but I know a lot of tradespeople who live and work in Billings, but would love to come out here and be a part of a think tank, if you will, about building these programs. So I don't, like you said, we involve the whole community in our building process, but I like the idea of maybe singling that down and saying, okay, business owners, tradespeople, who do you need? What do you need? And then that's also going to generate buy-in for funding too, I think, from these organizations, from the labor unions, from these groups that could help fuel and fund our project. I know that the CTE in Billings has a lot of trade funding to help with that. That's not just coming from the government. So I think if you involve them very early in the formulation of our program, it would really benefit it, and it would be well thought out. So when we present it to the broader community, they're going to go, we can say, look, we have talked to the businesses, we have talked to the folks that run our industry, and they have, this is the plan that we have formulated around our students. And so I think that would really add to the buy-in in the community too, that we took that step.
Yeah. Dummy.
I think another great resource, and I know one that Billings has used in the past with their career center, is the Big Sky Economic Development Authority. I think they would have huge input and resources.
Steve, and yeah, I always slaughter his name as well. Just say Steve A.
The one thing I would also like to add to just the thinking around that is many times there is a program coordinator and that is all they do. I mean, just like we talk about a building project, you guys hired an owner's rep and that's all that owner's rep does. So I just want to throw that out there. That is also like, these are huge.
And that's what I was going to ask. So what timeline are we asking for? Either just a kind of like, okay, we gave you kind of a direction. Do we want to say first quarter something? Because they also have their accreditation that they have to follow that has to be done. So they already have a program that they have to work on. What does that look like for them? So we're not setting them up to fail, but we're giving them bits to work towards. Because in my mind, this isn't we're going to get this done at the end of the year and we're going to be sailing into next year with, 5 new different courses for CTE and, 5 new teachers and running off. So what does that look like for this group? So we can at least give them some steps along the way.
In my mind, I'd say I'd love to see some high-level outlining, maybe in the first quarter, that says, hey, here's the group that we've identified as people we'd like to talk with or form that group. It's very easy to create a vision statement and a mission around that, and maybe some broad stroke timelines. That way we can start forming this, because if this board decides to go to bond next May, we'd like to have a workable narrative, probably by January, so that we can get that out into the community more. So it doesn't have to be obviously very granular, but I think that would be a goal, is by January, we know we have a momentum going in a direction, I think.
Maybe we created a committee with some of those community partners that both Chris's are talking about, and bring them together. We may say, okay, well, really what we need is, if we have a woodworking class, it's great to do some projects. That's wonderful. You got to learn tools and all that. But at some point, we need to be in construction. We need to be, whether it's building sheds or helping build a home, or and then obviously there's an electrical component to that. There's a plumbing component to that. There's whatever it happens to be. I think that we have to think like that. Then that gives us a direction. So what do our classes start to look like? And we start to look better. But I think creating that group and just getting that overall feeling of, okay, this is what we currently have. What are we seeing out there? What do we need more of? To go back to Mr. Vogel's comment.
I think I'd like to see something back from you as to what you think is feasible to get to us by the end of the school year. This is going to end up probably being something that's going to move forward as a charter designation, at least for some of it. But I'd also like you to think about all students, not just students who can't go to college or who we don't think are college material, but all students. We've got the medical field. There's many students that would benefit tremendously. They're going to go to 6-8 years of college, but to get these experiences while they're in high school and partner with the medical community, which is vast in Billings. And I'm hoping that that's one of the areas we look at, because that's going to be an area there's going to be jobs forever and ever and ever. until our whole society's robots or something. But then we're going to have electrical people to take care of those, right? But I just think that we really need to look at what is out there, what the future looks like as we move forward. But I'd really like to see what you feel is feasible in terms of a timeline, because it needs to be done sooner than later, but we don't want to rush this because we want to get it right.
They do have a term for this. This is called place-based learning. And my challenge is to the board to think of how we can start earlier. Like we can have community members come in and co-op with our teachers and teach about their business. That way we can build the connections with the kids at lower levels about why do you need math? Why do you need English? They come and work with the teacher and you get the community members. I know Idaho does this and they've had their state split into specific regions, like some are on agriculture, some is on tourism, and they've really developed units to go with this so we can even go lower than 5th grade and start with that community-based learning with the young kids.
Anybody else on the board? Do you feel you have some direction? Do you feel you have some timelines? Okay, is that,
The board packet coming up in September.
this is a placeholder
Yep,
because I
that's
didn't know
fine.
what that looked like.
Yep, I think that that's fine, and then we can kind of get together and just kind of see where we're at, and
That sounds, do you want to hear that here in September board, or do we want to extend that out, or do we want to at least have them regurgitate what we've asked of them?
We could update.
And an update,
On
yeah.
our conversation.
Right, yeah, does that sound good? Is that doable for that time frame? Because I think it's the second.
it's not just me.
I know, I'm looking at both of you. I think it's the second meeting in
It's the-
September.
it's the
Second meeting in
yeah.
September.
Yeah, I think we wouldn't have time.
Is that doable? Okay,
The second one, I think, is
Yeah.
doable.
okay, alrighty, wonderful, Chris?
And then this just falls, I think it falls under future discussion and this, but I would think that it's, would it be fair if we're going to place this as somewhat of a priority for the district, that maybe we get a monthly update on where things are? Or is that too regular? I'm just curious, because if we decide that this is a district
We
priority.
can come back,
Well, if we're
we
gonna
can
do,
come back as we have new information.
if we do a committee, the committee could help maybe,
And then the board,
Maybe that's the more
we
appropriate.
could have a board member on that committee.
just like we kind of did for the community, we had the community do the actual work on that.
Right, and then report back.
I think
And then
Mr.
report it back
Vogel-
to the board, but they would help with some of that. So it's not falling all on your guys' shoulders.
That is part of that, building out that graduate profile, is having community members' input. So I
Maybe we
mean,
could
we're
do,
currently doing that, starting that work through our district leadership team. But then the people who are on that subgroup working on that goal could then branch out and say, okay, well, we want to, build this survey and talk to these community members, and they can branch out from that. So I don't remember off the top of my head who's on that particular group, but we will be looking at the DLT groups on Thursday. And if we need to shift people around to make sure that one of these guys are on that team, we can do that.
Your DLT members will be talking to community members about creating a co-op of bring them into class. That's what's
The DLT group is one of the goals that the DLT is working on is building out that graduate profile. So the subcommittee within the larger DLT will work on that goal.
if I have
Yeah,
any
that just seems like
if I have any trustees who want to be on that subcommittee,
Yeah.
let me know. And then the DLT meeting will, and then of course it will be sub of that. So we're kind of almost running in what I'm understanding
Yeah.
together.
Right. Yeah.
Okay, anything else on that discussion item? We,
Can we make sure that the middle school is involved in this as well? Just like our sports programs, it starts younger, and this would be the exact same thing, is that we want to make sure that they're involved in the planning so that they can at least get in on it. So
perfect.
even if you don't want to.
Okay. Appreciate you guys. Thank you very much.
Principals might as well stand there.
Okay, moving on to the next discussion item is, of course, the letter from the governor in regards to the phones in schools.
So I'm the one who asked Brittany about this to be put on the agenda, just because we got the letter and I forwarded the guys the letter. I wanted to let this group know, in short, what they plan on doing that's a little bit different from last year. Beyond the letter from the governor, these were already all in the works. And I just wanted them to, I asked them to speak shortly about, you can read the policy there, 23630 is the district's policy on cell phones. And what they're doing at the high school will reflect that. So go ahead, you guys talk about that a little bit.
Current policy is really a responsible use policy, right? The cell phones aren't going anywhere. If we're not teaching our students how to use a cell phone responsibly or when to use a cell phone, then we're not in part doing our jobs. The current process is, or our idea is, we shouldn't be seeing a cell phone during instructional time, or earbuds or headphones or anything like that. If a teacher's speaking, presenting to the class, all personal electronic equipment should be put away. Okay. And what we'll be doing a little bit differently this year is, without exception, if a cell phone comes out when it's not supposed to be out, it'll be taken. You won't be told to put it away. It'll be taken, and the teacher will deliver that cell phone to me. And then I'll deal with that situation from there. I'm working with the student and the parents on when is the appropriate time to have a cell phone. That's where we stand right now with our cell phone policy and how we'll roll it out next year.
Now, I would just say that our school policy aligns with what the governor is asking in the letter and suggesting, which aligns with the expectations and practices we plan to start the year with. We'll be reiterating that to teachers this week and students next week, and moving forward from there. Part of growing up and developing that frontal lobe is developing those habits and the discipline. Things are appropriate and when they're not, and how to manage that. And that's part of our job, is helping them to learn to manage those tendencies.
Part of the way we're going to make sure students understand what's happening is we'll be meeting with students in individual classes, freshmen, sophomore, junior, seniors, to express what our expectations are, not just with cell phones, but just in general inside of the building. But cell phones will certainly be part of that discussion. And then next week, or this week, we obviously meet with teachers, and we'll be working with them.
So will we be communicating that with parents?
Communication has to go home so that everybody's on board and understands what's happening.
It'll be a change. I mean, it'll be a change for parents to get used to as well.
Ironically, hopefully they're not looking at their cell phones when they're not supposed to be to read it.
This is just out of the mouths of some of the high schools I've heard, and that's why I want to make sure that some teachers care, some teachers don't. So if we're going to across the board align that we're accountable all classrooms, because that's what's confusing to some students, right? Well, one teacher doesn't really care, so I mean, that's okay, but then this, like,
That's been our problem, Brittany. Our problem is that inconsistency, and I think it hurts teachers who are struggling more. I think the veterans probably have no problems. There's people who really crack down on it, and then the next teacher, it's an issue. I've expressed to them that there has to be a lot of consistencies. You can't have teachers that take the phone because the kid was on their phone and then just slides it to them in their pocket as they're headed out of class. Like, okay, don't do it tomorrow, but here's your phone back. There has to be a consistent enforcement of the rules, and otherwise the system will break down, guaranteed. Well, so-and-so doesn't take my phone. So-and-so allows me to have. So-and-so just warns us. And as soon as that happens, the entire system breaks down. You can talk to the middle school principals about it. If it's not consistent across everybody, then you do not have a system. You just have a bunch of empty sentences in a handbook. It has to be consistent amongst everyone, or else it's useless, period. And I would encouraging, this is one of those actual words I mean, encourage, that I would never give a phone back to a kid. I would always make the parent come and get it.
Do students have access to electronic devices for learning other than their phones?
Chromebooks, each student's checked out a Chromebook,
One-to-one advice.
one-to-one.
Did that a couple years ago.
So they do have access.
And of course, since it's our property and connected to our Wi-Fi, Devin has, you know, the limitations on what they can search and what they can research and all that too.
You can use it as a learning and thinking tool. And second, just imagine if PI calculators had Pac-Man on them, that we'd be using slide rulers still. So I just want to be careful as we move forward that we.
What,
save
yours didn't
time.
have that?
I always but I just want to make sure that as we move forward, that our students have access to the best that in decision making, because whoever had access to the calculators did things a lot faster than those who had the slide rulers. So as we move forward, just as long as our students have that ability to utilize.
And there may be a time in class where a cell phone's an appropriate tool. That's to teacher discretion.
Yeah, that's an option that teachers have, is to say, all right, we're going to use it for this activity. This is the platform.
Can you just remind the parents then if they have to use their login as well? So that they can't use that as an excuse that I can't work because I don't have, and I know that my son has clearly done that. Why I'm bringing that up. Just throw it out. Okay, anything else? Any other comments? Do we feel good with the policy discussion? Got some head shakes. Thank you very much. Appreciate it. Justin, I saw you. You want to comment? You want to add?
Justin Clevey, middle school principal. I just wanted to say that the middle school, we went away from cell phones, I think, after the first year. We now have, we don't allow any cell phones on the person themselves. It needs to be in the locker, in smartwatches. I think the time for cell phones for a teaching tool was when there's not one-to-one. And this is now I'm going on my personal thing. There's a lot of data out there that cell phones, social media, and stuff like that is very detrimental to students all the way to their senior year. It's a lot of data out there. I would ask the board to look at a policy school-wide for cell phone. They can bring the cell phones to school, but then they have to leave them in the locker. There's no reason for a teaching tool. They have iPads, they have Chromebooks, they have all kinds of things right at their fingertips they can open up. Smartwatches, high school, you're going to have to watch smartwatches because they sit there now and they're on their desk and they're doing this with their smartwatches. They are handier than, so they already have their cell phones. So you can say no cell phones, but unless they have them take off their smartwatches, they're doing that. We have students that have been Snapchatting high schoolers Snapchatting middle schoolers, and they're getting it all on their smartwatches without the teacher even realizing it. So you can say no cell phones, but unless you're taking everything away, you're really not getting rid of anything. So we've taken the smartwatches away. We've sent out I don't know, it's really embarrassing, videos out there on smartwatches and stuff like that. But I just recommend the board even look at that, which is in whatever his name is. Forte's letter to the board that was one of the options.
I was just going to add in, I read 3 research articles this summer about Gen Z and how the social media is really affecting, because it's kind of that narcissism of watching themselves, the self, everything is about them, the entitlement, the pieces, and how that's really hurting them on the social media platforms. So when he was talking about the research and the data to support it, you can just Google any of your documents and it'll show you the research that's out there about
how Gen Z is so into the social media that it's really curbing their communication, collaboration skills, as well as just their creativity-ness of it. So
Recently read that the newest, most interesting, seeing it all the way down to kindergartners, is they want to be YouTube influencers, which actually honestly gives nothing to society. You know, I
They're
don't think
making
that's all.
millions.
That's not, well, they can, but it's very rare. It's like professional athletes. It's out there, but it's not really a viable option. It's not on Mr. Vogel's list of local.
You don't know that, are you?
And maybe he's an influencer and I don't know about it. I don't know, but it's just interesting that that's now a big career choice for a lot of kids.
I know we're using that
No,
social media.
I was so embarrassed. My wife wanted to watch it, and I was like, no, I need to get out of here. But I do want to say that in San Francisco and Silicon Valley, a lot of the private schools, and I can't remember the author, but he talked, a lot of these private schools from the people in those Silicon Valleys have gotten away from technology, period, and don't start entering technology back into the students until 7th grade. And we're talking Chromebooks and iPads. And then once they reach high school, then they're going to more of like the laptops and stuff like that. So they don't have any cell phones.
Which kind of goes back to your calculator analogy, because, you know, it all came out, everybody liked the calculator, but then they came in the elementary, you're supposed to use those foundational numeracy skills, right? And so you're really supposed to know the number, how they all, you know, come up with a 10 frame and really know the number system, not just giving them a calculator at kindergarten. So.
Thank you very much, both of you. You both raised. Jenny?
I would be interested in looking at a statewide district-wide policy for no cell phone usage. I mean, we provide the Chromebooks; those should be the learning method of choice. You know, the device of choice. Not every kid's going to be able to afford a cell phone. You know, like, I don't think probably they're going to have cell phones at some point, but just to limit the distraction. High schoolers are more mature than middle schoolers, but it's just to make it one district.
I did include 3630, which is the current policy, just so you guys knew what our current cell phone electronic device policy was. I did put it in here. Not that it doesn't need editing or needs to be updated or changed, but that's our current policy.
Right. We could send it back to leadership and learning. I think that'd be kind of nice to discuss. Just, yeah.
Okay.
I mean, like Matt said, I think consistency is the key to this. And we had a committee last year that looked at this, and I was able to go to a couple of the meetings, and I was more of an observer than anything because I didn't have a ton to contribute, except I'm a parent. But I think that the adults in the room are going to be the key to this. And if we can't get all the adults on the same page, and that doesn't just mean taking their cell phone away and giving it to Mr. Stilson, it means they're not on their phones either. And so if we can't get everybody on the same page, then we have nothing. We have no structure. I mean, the kids are doing what they're seeing, and if the adults in the room can't respect the rules, then why should the kids in the room respect the rules? And I think that was a lot of the discussion that I saw as an observer, is that the teachers that were sitting around the table when we were sitting there are the teachers that are doing it right. It's the ones that can't help but check their own cell phone and can't help but let the kids do whatever they want, and then they have chaos ensuing. I mean, so I think that it would be easier, honestly, to just say no cell phones for everyone. But if you guys feel like you can manage this and can report back to us, maybe at semester time, because if we're going to do this, I think it has to be all year. So we're going to have to wait till next year to do this if we don't do this now. But at semester, report back to us how you feel like it's going. I mean, if this needs to become a board decision to be the bad guy, I think we're fine with that. but I think that the consistency in the room has to be not only the students, but has to be the adults in the room. And I think that's where there's been a lot of breakdown at the high school. Just as a parent, seeing when I can contact my child during the day and when I can't, there's been broad inconsistencies on how that works. And we just need to be consistent, and the adults need to be held accountable as well as the kids.
And I would agree with that. I mean, the middle school, you guys have had a couple of consistent years. Not only are you helping your students to kind of be into that, you've helped your parents learn that same thing, right? So I know it's hard to say that our kids aren't, but it's the parents too, having the pure access to their own student, right? So I'm with you guys. If you guys feel that this could be a trial and test year, and if the cheese starts sliding off the cracker, then we might need to look at it differently. But maybe we give it this year, and then it's a next year that we go.
I think our change in bell schedule is really going to aid in that as well, right? Because you're looking at a 47-minute period and for 3 days. And that's going to be tough to be checking your phone and be engaged in class. And, you're just not gonna have a lot of free time. And so I think that will aid us some in it. The block periods still could be a challenge. But once again, you're right. If we don't get the adults on board and doing the right thing, it's not gonna work.
Chris?
I was just looking around the room like, I think everyone's sitting around this horn. We all have them out, but we're not using them, right? But I think I like what you said, Mr. Stilson, about how it's like we do need to teach these young people like responsible use. And taking it away doesn't prove responsible use. It might break a habit, but it doesn't show them like their real control is like having it here and not being like, I gotta look at it. I gotta have it, right? I think I like that lesson if it works, but that consistency is really important. Like Renee said, if it doesn't work, we will have to be the bad guy. I don't want to be the bad guy. So I hope we can make that work, because I think the responsibility piece that you can teach them, like, yes, this device is here. You don't need to be attached to it all day. I think that's a big thing.
You've been patiently waiting.
Oh, hard for me. My colleagues know I'm really working on professional goals about keeping my mouth shut. Anyway, I'm Bethany Fuchs. I'm the West Elementary principal. And I can say that cell phones are all over the place. They are a part of our society. We've said that. They're a part of everyone's world. Teaching kids how to use them. We can have that at school, but ultimately, where they take it home and when they take it with them and all of that, it's a community effort. So I would just really ask for the voice from the board to aid our high school in making sure that the message to families is that we're really focused on learning. And I know that you want to remind your kid to pick up whatever they need to on their way home, but if you could just maybe, mitigate some of that, then it's really helpful. Then their kid doesn't feel like, it's my mom's calling. As a middle school principal who tried to change how cell phone policy works, it's a mindset for everyone. Community, parents, kids. They are the tools that we use for lots of things. Calculator, for instance. But changing the mindset that I have the power to decide when to check it and when not to check it. And to know you can let that go. You don't have to see how many likes you have on your post right now. You can wait, put your mind to this history lesson for this 47 minutes now, then take your break later. And that's just some of the language that I would try to encourage our families to have with their kids, to be able to just compartmentalize that a little bit. It'll make the high school's job a lot easier, because that sense of entitlement is real, and it's real for parents to want to be able to connect their kids. And our kids who don't come with all their self-regulation skills either are going to be freaked out if somebody takes that device. Be prepared. They will lose their mind. So it just is one of those things that it's going to be slow and steady. we've said consistency and we've said responsibility, but those have to be defined by actions and it can't just be words. And so I want everybody to kind of like be able to voice compartmentalizing the time and the energy and the space. Anyway.
Thank you very much. I have a nickname for it at my house. It's called the crack pipe. Put it down. That's what I say to them. I know, it's bad, it's bad. All righty, anything else? Yes, ma'am.
I think even if we are the bad guys and say we crack down and they're gone, we're still not necessarily the enforcers. The teachers are the enforcers, the admin are their enforcers. And if they're not on board, it's not going to happen. Like, we can enforce, we can talk about whatever we want here, but they're in and day out. And if I don't care, I'm going to look at my phone no matter what, even if they're not allowed or they're supposed to be in their lockers. So I don't think going super fast on this is, even at semester, I think would be fast by like changing a huge policy decision. Like, the kids will freak out. The teachers, I mean, parents, obviously, like she said, is a mindset. So that's just my like 2 cents on that. So I think if we were to do anything, even what your guys are doing and what you started last year was awesome. I think getting the teachers to collaborate together, and everyone agreed in the room that I was in that, yeah, there should be a cell phone policy. So this is a continuation of what you were even doing last year, John. And then, so that's cool. But, and then if we want to go home run, we got to go through the proper bases, in my opinion. But yeah, I think that sounds great to me, what you guys are doing. And hopefully it works out.
Okay, good. Anything else? Any other comments? Alrighty. Any future discussion items, trustees, that I have missed, that I have forgotten, that I need to put on, that has come up? Nothing. Nobody. I have 3 minutes. I would like to wait 3 minutes, so it's a solid exact 2 hours, Chris. Is that? Alrighty, if there's nothing else, I will adjourn the meeting.